Hey, welcome to Revisiting the Mania of WrestleMania Rewatch Podcast. I'm Carlos,
And I'm Maria.
and we're back
We're
for season
back.
two. We took a little bit of a hiatus there. I don't know why that came out weird, but hiatus. We
I
just
had
needed
it.
a break. Unfortunately, a lot of things came up.
Or fortunately, things
Well, it
came up.
depends. Some of us got sick off and on different weeks. And one of us is knocked up. So you figured that one out.
Look at that me.
So we're gonna ease back into revisiting WrestleMania and continuing the journey of my wife becoming a smart mark. And we decided to go with one of those matches that everyone recommended in the polls.
Yeah.
So this is a revisit of the Hell in a Cell match between Bayley and Sasha Banks from 2020.
2020.
So,
We're traveling back in time. We're taking you with us.
yeah,
You should be super excited.
I hope so.
I'm super excited to talk about this match.
Yeah. So, do you have any interesting tidbits, or anything
I do
like
have
that?
interesting bits, but I have interesting tidbits to talk about for this Hell in a Cell.
Okay, what do you got?
This to date is one of my top five favorite Hell in the Cells. So maybe we'll cover some more Hell in the Cells after this.
Oh,
The match took place on October 25th of 2020,
mhm.
and it's a pay-per-view event. It was for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. And do we do the? We'll talk about the outcome later.
Yeah, we'll talk about the outcome later.
Okay.
So, this is not the first, in case you were wondring.
I was wondering.
This is not the first official women's Hell in a Cell match.
What was the first?
The first one was the Charlotte and Sasha Banks.
Charlotte Ruth?
No, Charlotte Flair. Woo!
Woo!
And that one took place in 2016.
We had the measure, and we had the measure. We had the pleasure of meeting her daddy.
Yeah, we had a very fun WrestleCon. We met various superstars. Maria might have gotten very close and personal with one particular superstar, which we'll bring to you as another bonus episode. Well, we'll discuss how our weekend went with meeting fans, meeting up with the Podcast Championship Wrestling podcast guys.
Friends?
Yeah, friends, Doyle,
Dre.
Trey, and Wayne.
Yep.
And then meeting the
Who you've all heard or seen on our podcast.
yeah, and then meeting the legends that were in attendance for WrestleCon.
You're talking about me?
Well, besides you, but we like you said, we got to like bump into him. We took a group photo with Sting.
We did. That was awesome. He is amazing. He's as nice as you think he is, and he's very kind.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, that's a little teaser for you. So, with that, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Now, Maria, you are now familiar with Bayley.
Yeah.
And you are familiar with Sasha Banks.
Yep.
Now, do you have any like favorite, or who are you pulling for? Because at this time, right now, Bayley, from what you know her as, is a face.
Right.
So now she's actually a heel, and she's got a haircut. Before, she used to rock like a side ponytail.
Right.
And when she was in NXT, and now she got like that Karen bob cut.
2020.
In 2020, when Karens were all the rage.
Hairstyles?
No, like everyone had a Karen to complain about.
They were raging?
Yeah.
Okay. I know some nice Karens, though.
I'm not saying that every lady named Karen is, one of the stereotypical ones that we had during the coronavirus epidemic, but
if you rewatch this with us after you catch this podcast, it's interesting because this is in the midst of coronavirus. You'll notice the fans are actually on screen. Yeah, so that was like a little strange. I don't want to say I was taken aback by watching it, but it just reminds you of what we all were going through in 2020.
Yeah, and that's almost going to be coming up to 4 years.
4 years.
We're about 3.5 years into this. from when that match passed.
Right. So we have a long-standing rivalry between Bayley and Sasha Banks. They were two former best friends. Were they also a tag team?
They were a tag team. Yes, they were a tag team in NXT. You know, you have those tag team like breakups
Hmm.
type of thing.
Like,
We had thinking back to like WrestleMania related ones.
right.
The most ones that's like kind of a friendship, but it really wasn't. Was Tito and Rick the Model Martel. They had Strike Force, and eventually it took like maybe 2 or 3 WrestleManias for them to break up.
Hmm.
And then you had Owen and Brett.
Yeah.
They were a tag team for a little bit, and then they ended up breaking up. You kind of had that with was well, it wasn't like a long-standing tag team, but you had Hogan and Macho Man, Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. So they're like precedent,
Hogan
like
and
like
the.
no, it's just
I thought you were
Hogan
gonna keep
and
going.
no, it's just the precedent of them like they're like we're gonna build some tension with these two baby faces
Right.
to make one a heel. So
I
what
like the
other
storyline. The
yeah what
storyline is good. We have two really good friends. Their friendship turns bitter, and here we have this Hell in a Cell where they turn into enemies.
yeah
So for fans and for like new marks in training like myself, this just added some layers of emotion because you're like, they were friends, but now,
they're enemies.
and there's kendo sticks involved.
Lots of candlesticks.
Yeah.
Lots. Now their introduction to those candlesticks.
Hmm.
Do you remember back in the mid 90s when like they had like news reports of people getting beat
With
in Singapore with Singapore canes?
no,
Well, that was a thing. So that's where that whole candlestick kind of
that's
derived
real.
from.
Oh.
Yeah, there was things. So like they're like, well, we can introduce this to wrestling. So I
Mm.
can't find the first instance of when a Singapore cane slash candlestick was used in a wrestling match.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, that's where that whole iteration
We
is
also
supposed to
had
be from.
chairs too.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing with the Hell in a Cell. There's no escape. We've already done one where we did the Undertaker versus Mankind in a Hell in
Mhm.
a Cell.
Which is my favorite.
So you can't escape the cage
If you haven't watched
unless you
it,
start outside the cage.
that's true.
But you can't escape the cage. It only ends with a pinfall or a submission. And this was a good way, I think, for this particular rivalry
Hmm.
and feud to pretty much culminate.
I was gonna say if you haven't watched it, go back in our episodes and watch it. We really enjoyed watching that match over again. You get to watch it live?
I did get to watch it live.
Yeah.
I was overseas, I think, at the time.
And then
So
I had to watch it a few times just because I was so shocked when I saw it.
no, we'll go
So
ahead and put that in the description for our, if anyone wants to go ahead and click and see what Maria's thoughts about that pay-per-view match was about.
that 1998 Hell in a Cell.
Hmm.
Again, it's like one of the most iconic matches of all time and my favorite to date. So,
So, Maria,
yes.
so now that we've got this, Bailey's the heel,
Mhm.
Sasha's the face.
Right.
Who are you rooting for?
I'm rooting for Bayley.
Okay, any particular reason why?
I'm just a fan. I think it's more like I have seen her wrestling of late.
Mhm.
She's still part of the WWE. And so I just feel like since I have more face time with her, that I'm still a fan of her and I'm rooting for her in this match. What about you?
With this one, I am a fan more of heels. If
Ooh.
you go back and watch our particular breakdowns of WrestleManias and bonus episodes,
Hmm.
you pretty much see that I side with heels. It's for me, it's just uh like who doesn't want to be a bad guy and enjoy the benefits. There are some people in like wrestling that like Jimmy Hart I had brought up, where he was a manager for lots of heel tag teams and heel talent, and then at the end of the day, he didn't want to be a heel known as a heel manager. He just wanted to be loved. But
Aw.
it's just having that whole psychology of knowing what button to press,
Mm-hmm.
what to do to make people boo you,
Mm-hmm.
or like to throw your beer at you, or to do other things at you, like just to get the crowd riled up.
Right. So without risk, there is no reward.
Mhm.
And some of my favorite spots during this match include Sasha Banks. Her meteora from the top rope to Bayley in a ladder was a standout moment for me.
Mhm.
Also, when we see Sasha toss Bayley into those steel steps, was a pretty iconic moment of this match as well. What
Mhm.
about you?
That was one of them. There was lots of uses of kendo sticks if we haven't got to it. But I like that whole, like, the match starts out pretty much like in Sasha's favor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bailey's carrying around this chair that she used to injure Sasha around her neck, so
Right.
she carries it with her.
That looked painful.
But then the match starts off where Sasha drop kicks it and then it slides out of the ring.
Yeah.
And kudos to them for being able to get that timing right.
Yeah.
Because, like, the cage is being lowered down.
Yeah.
And then Bailey's just holding it. She's not paying attention to Sasha. She has her back turned. And then as soon as she turns around, Sasha drops kicks the chair out and it just slides out. And it's not like it barely creeps out of the dropping area or the drop area of the Hell in a Cell. It like makes it all the way to like the barricades.
Right.
So that's one, like, just based on that timing. There's just a lot of good things that Bailey does as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wish that this match would have been in front of people
Yeah, live
instead of
audience.
actually like a lot, like hearing the crowd, like getting that instant reaction
And B-ball. Mm-hmm.
of having like someone there,
The
hearing the
oohs,
boos,
the ahs.
yeah, and just being able to be like, yes, I'm doing that right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is what we wanted.
Yeah.
Or this is a time, which is really weird, where they didn't get any type of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So normally, what I feel and what I've learned over the years is that when wrestlers are in there, usually they kind of like maybe call an audible, or maybe in the back they call an audible, saying, you know what, this is not going the way we want it to
Yeah, if they
go.
feel the crowd moving in a different
Yeah,
direction.
so we're just gonna change the finish, or we're gonna change and flip everything around.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty much this is gonna go how it's gonna go no matter what, because we can't tell until like either the next day or whenever we have a show like next, or after we read the reviews or
Right.
comments and things like that to see where we should go.
Much like this podcast.
Yeah.
So there's a few things on the line that we talked about. Bailey has a 380-day championship reign. So and that gets ended.
Well, yeah, and then it does end up getting broken in this particular match.
Mm-hmm.
Now the announcers, which we have Corey and Michael Cole,
Right,
are talking about someone who had like a 10,000-day reign.
who?
Do you know who that person
my
is?
Goodness, who is it? Can you guess?
You can guess.
Is it Shawn Michaels?
No, this is for the women.
Oh shoot! What? I thought this was like the Undertaker's, like 18 and
No, this
streak.
is not nothing like the
Who is
WrestleMania.
it? I'm not gonna guess. Go ahead.
It's technically Fabulous Moolah.
Oh, Moolah.
Yeah, this is what they're
Girls,
alluding to.
guys, I did not think that I would hear the fabulous Moolah's name in this episode.
So I thought I'd give you that tidbit because they bring it up, but they don't tell you the Moolah's name, and I think that's because of that whole thing where she had those allegations going around.
Yeah.
So I
Problematic
think they just,
Moolah.
yeah. So they brought up the reign of Moolah, but they didn't give her well deserved props. But is it well deserved? Because if you look back on it, the reason why it's like 10,000 plus days,
yeah,
is because there's a like certain air gaps in years where the title wasn't defended.
Okay.
So they just kept counting it as Moolah having the title during that time, even though she didn't technically have it.
I like that you take note of that because that's not something that I would put together. So one of the other things we get to see Banks using the bank statement.
Yeah. What do you think about this? Because you mentioned that you are barely getting familiar more with Sasha.
Mm-hmm.
So her name is Sasha Banks.
Yes.
She comes out and Michael Cole, which annoys me, but it probably makes you happy. They call her it's boss time.
Boss time.
So every
What is
time,
she like 5'5", 5'6"? Both of these ladies are around the same height.
yeah. So, but it's the whole thing is just annoying me.
She's
And then
also the cousin of
Snoop,
which
Snoopadoop.
is pretty awesome connection as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you during this time how many of my guy friends, I can't remember if you, but just love Sasha Banks. So
I'm actually not that much of a fan of Sasha Banks.
I think it's my Biffy that
Yeah, I'm not like
enjoy the Sasha Banks.
I'm not saying that I don't appreciate what she's done to progress women's wrestling in the WWE, and now she's working on doing it at AEW. But I just don't think that for me she has that particular.
She's not boss Banks to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, I like when she uses the steel chair. She enhances that hold
Yeah,
on
that
Bayley.
same steel chair that they for some reason were able to get back. Remember how I told you that it made it to the barricade?
Yes.
Well, eventually, when it was time for that match to get finished and to bring that chair in,
right,
it was propped up against the steel cage. So all Bayley had to do was prop the door open and then squeeze it back through. But I found that was pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, I like to see you talk about it. Bayley going face and heel. We see some versatility between her character.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this match overall was a decent match and definitely a rewatch and a revisit for me. What about you?
Yeah, it's definitely one of these that I recommend that we, as wrestling fans, whether we're newer like fans like my wife Maria,
me,
or like an older fan who's been watching this, seasoned veteran who's been watching this for maybe 30,
many
30 plus years. This is a match that we have to go out of our way, make 26 minutes and 33 seconds. So carve out a half hour of your time of your day if you haven't seen it to watch this match. Yeah. This is a very good match with good match psychology. You don't get the reactions from the crowd, but these ladies are still able to pay off this storyline with a face and a heel.
This is Sasha Banks, her third
one.
Her third match within Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, this would be her third match.
Is this her second in her career?
I think this was, if not her second, is probably the third. She has another one with, I mentioned the Charlotte one, and then she has another one with Becky Lynch. So that would have been, I think, the year before.
Okay.
In 2019. But if I'm wrong, please do not hesitate to correct me. Mostly some of this is coming off memory, and sometimes my years and my days and my months get crossed. So,
well, we're gonna get you some Jingle Biloba.
Yeah, but you thought it was a good finish. Like the only thing I didn't like was the finish. Like I understand why it was used. Like she used the chair to give her like that leverage, the bank statement, and kind of like putting like some type of ointment in the wound. Like, hey, you used this chair against me. Now I'm gonna use that chair against you. Like I understand like the psychology behind the finish,
right?
But it didn't look like Sasha had very good familiarity of using it because sometimes Bayley has to kind of help her,
right,
and get herself into that position. So I just would have liked maybe, I'm not sure if they called it there during the match or if they just didn't get enough time to practice it. But if they were able to smooth and fill that, like make it more fluid, I probably would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, I like the storyline. I like the build up. I like the friendship turned into bittersweet enemies. I enjoy the wrestling gear, their outfits. I like the work, and I think this is good ring psychology. I hear that people consider this one of the best Hell in a Cells. I think Ray was telling us.
Yeah,
Our
Ray
friend from
Bad
RPAD TV.
TV, yes. Who we're gonna try to get back for our WrestleMania 30. He's been joining us pretty much since the beginning. He was our first guest, and we got him for 10, we got him for 20. So when I trying to bring him back for 30, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was one of them. We put out the poll on YouTube also, so we can get like more feedback. Because as much as I like to go through these revisits with you on WrestleMania,
Right.
there's only so many more WrestleManias we can do.
How many?
So we ended up at 28. So we have, 29 through 40
to go.
And then I think either by 31 or 32, they start being 2-day WrestleManias.
And we had the opportunity to go to WrestleMania 40 this year.
So now it'll be interesting seeing what you thought when you were there in person.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And now how we react again when we rewatch it on Peacock.
Yeah, next year is Vegas, so we'll see.
So other than that, do you have anything else to add about this particular match?
No, but if you like this and you like to talk about wrestling, we're working on building a community here. We love to talk old wrestling, new wrestling. We have tons of favorite matches that we've talked about on this podcast. Definitely like this video, subscribe, and recommend us to a friend or share us.
Yeah, I wanted to give that, like my wife said, like add on to this update, that we normally like to do live streams, just because we get that instant
like fan interaction.
and things like that. Takes us down some tangents, but some of those tangents end up being very helpful, not only to me but also to her.
And they're a lot of fun.
So we won't be able to do the Facebook Live streams because we do not have 100 followers.
Ooh.
So if you guys are watching us on Facebook and do us a favor and you want to see these on Facebook Live, go to our Facebook page, Revisiting Mania. Give us a follow, and if we get to 100, then definitely we'll be able to go back to live streaming these episodes to Facebook.
Ooh.
So other than that,
that's all I have.
We will be updating or not updating, uploading this episode to all major podcast platforms for the audio. So Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, Pocket Cast, anywhere where you find your.
Are we on Spotify?
Yeah, we're on Spotify. Anywhere you get your audio podcast fix, we'll be there. And thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks when we break down WrestleMania 29.
Bye.
Peace.